With the councilwoman, Doc Hawk is the only one that's asking questions of these ladies up here. So
I am.
You're the only one that's put it on you. Put my name down. I'm not leaving. I'm going to have you.
I'll be happy to pass
Is that okay with you? Well, I'm sure you got time to pick them up. So George, we good? All right, so we're back with North Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge Department 1 candidates. If I could please have you do your 1-minute bio. Starting with each one, either one. And don't forget, right here on this sign right here, it says please state your name for the listeners at home so that they know who's speaking.
Good afternoon. My name is Marsha Kimble-Simms. I'm running for North Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge Department number 1. It is an open seat. I am a former prosecutor as well as currently I'm a criminal defense attorney. I've been a judge pro tem in North Las Vegas Justice Court. I graduated from the University of Michigan as well as the University of Detroit School of Law. Currently, I own my own law practice, which is family law. If I am elected, North Las Vegas is currently undergoing a fiscal crisis. I would like to work with the veterans groups, the ones at Nellis, as well as the church and community groups to try and get some programs together for first-time offenders, as well as to try and get rid of the people who come back. They call them, it's recidivism, repeat offenders. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Ramsey. I'm running for North Las Vegas Municipal Court Judge, Department 1. I actually first moved to North Las Vegas in 1967. My father was retired military. Military is what actually brought us out here. I'm married, I'm 46 years old. I'm married to David Ramsey, who's also a veteran. We have 4 children, and we choose to make North Las Vegas our home. I worked my way through McDonald's to get myself through college, and I went through law school as a single mom with 3 kids under 5. It was a very hard feat, but I knew I could do it. My boss came to me and said you'd be doing an injustice to the community if you didn't go, so that's why I went to law school. I worked in private practice, and after that I went into civil service. I was in civil service for 9 years, 4 of which are actually in the department for which I'm running. I have been with North Las Vegas for 4 years now as a prosecutor. I am the only one with direct knowledge and experience in the very court for which I'm running. I believe in equality for citizens and justice for the community. Thank you.
Richard Hawkins, attorney and economics professor. What particular program, you're a smaller court and we understand that you're not going to be getting more resources any more than the other ones are over the next few years. What particular programs could you perhaps copy from the other larger courts that might help streamline things for the North Las Vegas court? For example, there have been veterans courts created, there have been specific things to target drug use issues. I mean, what particularly might you be able to borrow to streamline things? Sure.
One of the things that I would do, I would copy what Las Vegas is doing. They allow you to do bench warrants at the counter, whereas in North Las Vegas you have to do Tuesdays and Thursdays. And that would save time for, it would save time, but it also save money. I have sat in municipal court under one of the judges recently, and we had 177 arraignments. And so if we had more time to focus on that instead of just bench warrants, it would save the court's time. Thank you.
To answer directly the question about the different courts that we could be using, it's Ramsey. Sorry about that. Ramsey. About the different courts that we could be using, we actually have a court program that Judge Hofkin is working with. And as a prosecutor, right now, the way the alphabet's divided, we're in both courtrooms. So we're able to look at somebody's background and history and see if we can refer them into that program. And then we have a special session that brings them in back to court so we can continue to follow that. And it's a year-long program. Anyone is eligible for it, even if there are veterans or anybody that we look at their history and see if it is something that we can do for them. So we currently are doing that now. So rather than copying the ones from downtown, we actually are using the ones from downtown. That's what Judge Kearns is the one that the judge is currently sitting on doing that. There has been a representative from the veterans that has come into our court, and usually comes in, used to be on Fridays, used to come in, because that's when our in-custody session was. Because of the budget cutbacks, we had to switch our jobs, the work schedule, to Monday through Thursday now, which saved 2 jobs in the court system. However, now it shifted that in-custody session back to Thursdays, and I don't know if I've seen him in there on Thursdays, but that's something I'm definitely willing to keep up and continue.
Thank you.
Lubello, veteran in politics. I was a member of Fox Company 223, and we actually have a reserve center right across from Nellis Air Force Base here. My question pertains to the veteran court system. As I understand it, it does not allow for veterans to be heard if they're in trouble for a violent act or an aggressive crime. As a Marine, I can tell you that it is very much part of our job to be aggressive and to be violent. And as public servants, we're happy to do that job when we have to. It's no excuse to come home and do that, but it is something that changes in a person, I would say. What is your opinion on what could be done to, coming from a judge, take into account a veteran's combat experience when dealing with a violent crime?
Marsha Kimble-Simms. I am a former Judge Advocate General officer with the 109 Southfield, Michigan. I did 6 years. My brother was a veteran, my grandfather was a veteran, my sister and my cousins. The issue for me is making sure that they get the resources. My brother utilized a lot of the resources that they have here. There's a program, I believe it is located in Owens and Nucleus Plaza. I went down and talked with a lot of the counselors. They have quite an extensive package of services that they offer veterans. Not letting them, if they do commit a crime in the city of North Las Vegas, they have to be held responsible. We'd have to look at their background, but we would try to get them, I would try to get them some help through the Veteran Services. Also, my sorority sister, Marsha Evans, runs the Veterans Homeless Project in Las Vegas, and I've worked with her to try and help veterans. I basically try to work with the existing programs because of the fiscal crisis. Thank you.
Catherine Ramsey, just a little bit of a response also as well. Unfortunately, if you were to find the resources for them, the whole problem is identifying them in the first place. A lot of times when they do come in, we're not even aware that they are veteran until after they've been through the system. And that's one of the reasons why we had worked with the in-custody session when they're first arrested in order to perhaps divert them and understand their circumstances a little bit more. So that's key. You can have all the programs and resources for them, but it's a matter of identifying them at the very early on. And since I've been in court, I've been able to see how this has been beneficial and able to assist them. As far as answering your question about the violent crimes, we only handle the misdemeanor crimes, so the really violent ones are not going to be within our jurisdiction. However, we do have concurrent, when they have a felony and attached misdemeanor, a lot of times the misdemeanor is held within our city, and the felonies and the gross misdemeanors are sent downtown with justice court. And being in court, when I do see in custody, when they first come in or arrested, and you see that booking sheet and it shows their actual charges, you know what type of violent crimes that they're there for. We don't have them plead to our misdemeanor right up front, first without counsel, but in order to be more fair to them, they usually end up going down and handling their preliminary hearing or anything in justice court first, because a lot of times that resolves the misdemeanor within our court. But we do have domestic violence and other violent crimes that are simply misdemeanors that would also entail. So it's not that I'm trying to say we never will handle them, we do, but when we see that, because I am in court, we're able to look at all those things and then determine. The biggest issue is to identify them right up front. And a lot of times we give them on their intake forms and the information, but it's whether they can come out and let us know that we can identify the program for them. Thank you.
Marsha Kimble-Simms, if you could work toward assisting us with identifying them and letting us know, usually they may send down a veteran representative, but that's only if they contact the VA.
Thank you.
Again, looking at the constraints on resources, there's a certain parallelism of what parts of the justice court and municipal courts do. Would it be a good idea or a bad idea to merge the justice and municipal courts and just create more departments out of one court?
Currently, if you know anything about municipal court, we handle everything that's under $2,500, DUI, driving under the influence, domestic violence, as well as battery, some drug cases, some prostitution, building and safety, and fire code violations. The Justice Court handles the more violent issues. They handle small claims court, they handle landlord-tenant. I do not believe that you would do a service to the people of North Las Vegas if you were to consolidate it with Justice Court. If you know anything about the Justice Court, right now, North Las Vegas is the busiest court system because we have the most people that have migrated to our area. But the Justice Court doesn't have a DA. They have 3 judges, but 2 DAs. They wouldn't be able to accommodate the extra misdemeanors. They really would not be able to accommodate them. It would do a disservice to the people in North Las Vegas as well as the victims, as well as the people who actually run the court system. You would just overburden them. North Las Vegas is the busiest municipal court in the state, so it would not be good for the citizens at all.
Captain Ramsey, first of all, I want to clear up the jurisdiction. I know Marsha stated it was 2,500 and under. Actually, it's 1,000 and under. It's always been that way for misdemeanors. So it's up to 6 months in jail and up to a $1,000 fine, unless the statutes give us more, and they don't actually. So it's $1,000, and that's what happens coming in from firsthand knowledge and experience. I mean, I know the courts and I know the system. I know what's already in there. As far as knowing the law, the cities are the ones, when you become a city and you become chartered, you're allowed actually through the statutes that to raise your money. Any misdemeanors committed in the city are now pulled out of the county and given to the city, and that's how they raise money. If you were to combine those courts like you're suggesting and give those misdemeanors back to the county, then you would absolve every money-raising revenue that we have to give to the city. And in this budget crisis, basically, you're asking to dissolve the whole city. So that would not be good for North Las Vegas at all in any fashion. So while I may agree that it would be overburdensome to do that on one court, and certain charges are not going to be given the importance that they should be rated, because they'll be dealing with felonies and gross misdemeanors, and they're just going to toss away all these misdemeanors. And this is where you need to get the people that are starting off in their crime or the littler crimes, the little petty larcenies and all that, or the drug habits. That shows that they're stealing now to support their drug habit. We need to get them some kind of a program or something to stop that, because then they're going to start breaking into houses and robbing people and doing all kinds of things, and they're just going to escalate in the system. So we have a chance now at the misdemeanor level to go ahead and try and find those, identify and get them some programs. So if you were to try and make them all together, for one, you can't do it with the way the cities are set up, because there's a specific statute that says all the misdemeanors, then you take the money from that. And one more thing in a rebuttal to what Marsha had said is, it's true they do have 3 justices of the peace, but that's based on the number of people that you have in the city in that area, and they can always do more when they reallocate the people. However, the DAs, they don't send just 2 people down there. I know she stated there was 2 DAs. I was on a track, and every day you rotated in certain areas, you had an outlying area. So it's not just the same 2 A's going down there. If you need more DAs, they have 80 of them. They'll send them down if they have to. It's just a matter of getting them down into the courts to do it. So it's not that 2 are housed there. The 2 are on a team, and they rotate the teams. And so if you need more DAs, they can send them down. Now, whether they will or whether they won't, that's the issue between the DA and the Justice Court, and that's been highly in dispute, but that has nothing really to do with our courts and the misdemeanors. If the DA, I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt her, so I would just hope that I would be allowed a chance to finish as far as that goes. Working in the district attorney's office for 5 years as I had, I know exactly how they work and where they need to allocate those DAs, and they have people that are able to do that. If they have to cover the courts, they have to cover it. Actually, the public defender said they're too busy now. They're not even covering the misdemeanor DUIs and battery domestic violence. Well, those are our biggest 2 crimes in North Las Vegas. So if we were to consolidate, as you suggested, and send the misdemeanors down there, they're not even going to get representation from public defenders. I mean, what kind of justice is that for our community?
Thank you. Marsha Kimble-Simms. Currently, they send 2 DAs. It doesn't have to be 2 DAs that are housed there, but there's a big feud going on. I just spoke with the Chief Justice in the Justice Court, and they need to send a 3rd DA to work in the courtroom for the 3rd judge there.
Anything else?
And before we keep going, let's go ahead and keep the answers down to 1 minute. These are going to be on YouTube. You have and on Facebook. So the Veterans of Politics Facebook, you can go and add answers. You can add volumes onto the Facebook. if you so choose. But let's keep the minutes, the answers down to 1 minute. Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Michael Mazur. Based on the current caseload that we have in the court system in Nevada, do you see a need currently for an appellate court system? And if you do, can you discuss the benefits or pros and cons of each? That's to both candidates.
Currently, I do not see a need for an appellate court. This initiative was on the ballot, I think it was maybe 3 or 4 years ago, and the public voted it down. I don't feel that we need an appellate court primarily because we just, I think they created 7 new district court seats. I'm not for sure if it's 7. And currently those judges will be taking the bench and they can handle those intermediate issues. And the best route for appeal is our Supreme Court. Even though our system is overburdened, we have no funding for an appellate court at this time.
Okay. And your name, please.
Marsha Kimble-Simms, sorry.
Catherine Ramsey. I do understand that the Supreme Court is asking. There's a lot of cases that get sent up that aren't able to be heard because of that. And I know they do take the cases that they see most important to our community and in order to make a stand for it so we can follow that as case law. Until they do have that appellate court, even if they were to get that appellate court, then that's going to streamline some of the issues that go in front of them. I don't see where they haven't been able to look at every issue in the cases that isn't for them and pick and choose the ones that they're going to hear. So even if you were to get an appellate court in there, you're still going to have the same number of cases being decided by the Supreme Court. You're just looking now to streamline the questions that are going to be brought in front of them. And I don't know if that's always a good thing either. Because if they are only given 10 topics when there's 20 out there, how do we know that they don't see those other 10 that are left out as the most important topics? So the more you streamline that, it maybe actually end up being worse. And again, we are in a budget crisis as the city is, along with the whole state. So thank you.
Great, thank you.
Jess Brooks. My question is, what is your position on whether judges should run for elections or be appointed? That goes to the panel.
Catherine Ramsey, currently the federal courts are appointed, and that takes supposedly the bias out of the system. However, you're still looking at the same panel of people that get appointed to them, and it's all politics on who you know and how you get those appointments as well. So I don't really know if it does a disservice or a service in order to have it that way. I don't see any difference when you're running for election because you're still rubbing elbows and talking to the same people and acting the same way. I don't see any difference in the judges that are running for election versus the ones that are appointed federally. I don't see how they change or how they act after that. So I don't think it's a benefit whether or not they are simply all appointed or just elected. I personally like the election cycle because it gives us a chance to get out, and we've been at several functions together where we're able to be interviewed, and then the public can decide who they want, and that's who we represent as the people anyway in our positions. Thank you.
I believe, Marsha Kimble-Simms. I believe that the people have a right to vote for their judges. The appointment process, as I have reviewed it for our state, I believe they would appoint you and then 2 years later you would have to run. The theory is that if you're not doing a good job, the people will vote you out. However, for an appointment process, as Catherine had stated, most of it is people who have political connections. If you look at our court system, the majority of the people in our court system, it's kind of 45, maybe 50, you have a lot of women that have gotten in office via the election process. And so it opens the process for people like myself, people like Catherine, people like me, people like Supreme Court justices. If you look at the history of our state, we have a diverse population and we need women as well as men. And so the appointment process is more difficult, I believe, for women.
Yeah, I'm used to being asked to make my appearance by judges, not to ask judges for their appearance or candidates. It's nice being on the other side of that for a change. What types of things could be changed for streamlining purposes to be done electronically, such as a arraignment either at the counter, fax, or on a computer system, or perhaps trials by affidavit? Obviously, that would take the consent of the defendant. But what types of these would be practical to make the court more accessible and reduce the resources so that it could better use them in that regard?
I have practiced in municipal court. Excuse me, Marsha Kimble-Simms. I'm so sorry, Marsha Kimble-Simms. I have practiced in North Las Vegas Municipal Court, and one of the key things I think is the bench warrant process. I do believe it would be better if you could go to the counter and do the bench warrants. That would free up 2 days of court time. Tuesdays and Thursdays, the bench warrants are handled. Also, North Las Vegas already has a computerized system where you can go online and look, and I believe you can pay online. If I'm mistaken about that, I'm sure my opponent will let me know. Right now, the biggest issue is not, for me, would be the bench warrants. It's just the number of people that are coming in. If there were a way to streamline them and stop them from coming in, possibly doing some programs to prevent repeat offenders, the number of people, even if you streamlined it, would still be coming in. You have to do custodies, you have to do arraignments, you have to do those. Even if you have 300, you still have to do them. Thank you.
For the traffic tickets, they've already streamlined those, as Marsha said. That you can do those by fax adjudication, and they do that right now. When you do that, there's no appearance in front of the court or in front of the judge, and there's no reason why you can't do those right now. You can go to the counter and you can plead at the counter at the arraignment, so you never get set for court. So what you can do is actually take that court session out and be able to plead any time and come in. Right now, what's happening is when they come in and plead either guilty or not guilty, they handle it right there and then they set a session for court. Well, if they want to come back in the next week or 2 weeks when they have time in order to plead and pay their fine, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to do that. They have to wait for the next court session, which clogs up the court session, and then the other crimes that are getting in those calendars, you could streamline those to where you don't have to be there for all the traffic. Downtown, they currently don't do traffic right now in front of anybody. There's not an actual court session. They have like a traffic master kind of thing where you just go and you just show up on the lower floor of the RJC. We should be able to do the same thing and let them come in anytime they want.
Any more questions? Counsel, Laura?
First off, I have to credit the question to Melody Howard. Are you people familiar with Assembly Bill 187? It creates a Veterans Court. Okay, well, I just basically want to know, it creates a court for nonviolent offenders. We do not have one here in Clark County. They have one in Washoe. And I was wondering what you would do if elected to use your power as a judge to advocate for a Veterans Court here in Clark County.
Seeing that Nellis Air Force Base is basically allegedly in our district and not in our district because it is a federal property.
All in your district?
Yes, basically. I would advocate that first, as Catherine stated, we need to know who they are. They need I hope a part of that bill provides some type of social worker or counselor that if a veteran gets in trouble, he needs to go to that counselor so they can notify us and we can put them in the Veterans Court. That's one of the biggest issues to finding out who they are. I would advocate that they make having a social worker a part of it, and make it that you have to tell someone that you're a veteran. I don't know how you want the reporting process to be. Usually that depends upon the fiscal, who wants to pay for it. If the Veterans Administration wants to pay for it, or if that would be a part of the Assembly bill, the fiscal note, and that would have to come out of the fiscal committee. The other issue is, I think it would be very important to have it in North Las Vegas because the majority of my neighbors are veterans.
For the Veterans Court, Catherine Ramsey. For the Veterans Court, if they were to create one, I'm sure it would be shared amongst all the different jurisdictions. So they probably have a day that the people that are in charge of that court or want to administer it are going to Henderson, to Las Vegas, to the city, and also to the county, and the county because they're being heard in justice court. And then as well as North Las Vegas. I would definitely work with them if they wanted to put the veterans at a certain day or a certain time in order to streamline them and have them all come in at one session. There might not be enough of them to make a full court session from it, but you can actually put them on one session and have them all together so your representatives aren't overburdened by not being able to come in and have to come in 3 days a week because you have this person, this person, this person. So all you do is just continue their cases to be mutually same time, and that way they could just come in and we can handle them all that way. If there is a representative there that we know that they're identified as seniors and or as the veterans that come into our court and can do that.
Okay, that's all the time we have. Thank you for coming out. And if, remember, it is going to be on YouTube and on the Veterans of Politics Facebook page. You can go ahead and add, like I said, 4 volumes, if you so choose, to the Facebook page for when we post to YouTube. So thank you for coming out.
Thank you.